Okay, and we're live. Thank you, all of our panelists, for already being very understanding. I'm going to just check if you can all hear me right now.
Yes.
All good?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let us begin this World Mental Health Day special live program for those of you who are watching us on Twitter, and we'll post this on other social media soon. Thanks so much for taking the time. I think that what we can hear now is the other window. Give me a second. I do want to introduce myself. I'm Amrita Tripathi. I set up the Health Collective 4 years ago, actually, to talk about mental health and mental illness from an India lens. And we've been really looking at centering the narrative around lived experience. We've been featuring expert columns, comics, stories, and interviews. And we just crossed about 300 odd stories, earlier this year. And I thought this year we should do something a bit different, as you're going to see as I introduce our speakers. When we talk about mental health and illness, there's often so many myths, misconceptions, and stereotypes that I'm hoping through this conversation, when you see our fabulous panelists and what they have to share, I think it will automatically defy stereotypes, but of course you can be the judge. Let me start by introducing Shubhrata, who's the author of The D Word, A Survivor's Guide to Depression. She's a mental health advocate. She's a civil servant in the IRS, no less, and now with Niti Aayog. She's also a contributor to the book Real Stories of Dealing with Depression, which we released last year, that I helped co-author with Arpita Anand, the psychologist. So Shubh, thanks so much for joining. You can wave, you can share one of your books on screen. I know you're resisting my attempt to make you do this.
I will. This is the book.
This is the book that a lot of people first got to know Shubhrata through, right? Talking about depression and some of her journey. We're going to ask her to do a small reading as well from one of her other works. We have Varun, who's going to tell you his own stage name, who's a musician. I'm going to do his intro and he's going to tell you his stage name because I'm not cool enough. He's an artist and performer who produces and engineers music. He says he's always been passionate about self-expression. He hopes to do it in every art form possible. And he's been a passionate listener of music from a young age, wants to make music of all kinds, and wants to make sure the connection between him and his audiences strengthens more and more as time goes by. And, he's one half of the duo that produced the iconic song Andhera, which I hope all of you will listen to. Varun, thanks for being here, and tell us the name that your fans know you by.
It's Lil Todu, and this is what my Spotify profile looks like. So you all can check out other music by me right here. So then thank you so much, Amrita and the Health Collective, for having me here. It really is an honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll move to the second half of the duo, which is Darshan, whose Bluesanova is a little bit easier to pronounce, I think. So let me give that a shot. Darshan's one of the top producers when it comes to indie hip hop in India, blending powerful drums and addictive melodies with synths and sharp hooks. Darshan, you say your sound is unmistakable and real, and obviously, again, increasing my street cred by knowing you, but your fans will know you from the work you do in music in Mumbai. And, the song Andhera is something we want to talk to you about a little bit, but thanks so much for being here. And if you want to say a few lines.
Thanks for having me here. This is, featuring a song. We just hope that the song can kind of reach as many people as possible and kind of tell them that it's okay to not be okay. Yeah.
And we also have Shreevatsa joining us. Shreevatsa, you have been a mental health advocate. You have a column in the Huffington Post called Second Thoughts, and you've also written about being diagnosed as bipolar. This is the memoir that came out, How to Travel Light: My Memories of Madness and Melancholia. And this was a memoir that sought to make sense of your journey. Thank you. Yes, that it's good to have a prop that sought to make sense of your the illness and the diagnosis. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure.
And I wanted to start with actually doing a small reading, but before I do that, let me just double check everything is going okay on the other side. I really hope we don't have to do this again. Give me a second. Can anyone see us? That's what's like probably the challenge. Okay. When we start doing the readings, I'm just going to give it a pause to check what's happening. Sorry for that. Let me start by doing the readings, I think. Maybe Shubhrata, can you do a 1 to 2 minute reading? And you said you wanted to feature a different book this time.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so tell us a
Since
little bit about it, and I'll just...
Okay. Since we're talking about creation today, being creative, and what are the things that we all create as authors, artists. So I thought it is more befitting to read this poem, which I had written sometime in 2014 when I was really, at the nadir, I would say it was like really bad. And this was about me trying to get better through writing, and I had started writing after a very long time. So probably that is what would reflect in this poem. Both my mood, the real depth and darkest of depression, as well as trying to sort of start living again through my writing. So the poem is titled. It's from this book, Ink on Water, and it goes like this. It's titled "Coming Alive." So it's been a while and I haven't written anything. Not put pen to paper, not put fingers to keyboard, not thought, not felt. No, it's not that I haven't thought or felt. I have been tutored by times, by circumstances, by people to keep quiet. See, but do not speak. See, but do not feel. See, think, but still not express. I'm trying hard to break free. I'm straining against the chains. I'm keeping to fight alive. I keep my senses alive, keep my spirit alive, keep my soul alive. But can I? Will I? Dare I succeed? For I feel dead already. I've felt a wisp of wind over me lately, wisp of wind and spray of water, of elixir. Wanted to feel or felt, whatever, it's worked. I'm waking up. My spirit is getting stronger. I'm feeding my soul now. No past hurt is going to change me. No one or nothing is going to change me. I've kept quiet too long. Not anymore. Hey world, do you hear that? Not anymore. I'm coming alive. I'm coming alive again. So this was Coming Alive from Ink on Water, and this this is something I wrote before the D word, and sort of my inspiration to write is reflected in this poem, as is the will to fight depression and survive that. So. Uh,
That's amazing, Shubh. Thank you so much for that. We're going to unpack a little bit of what you shared there a little bit later in the chat. Thanks for sharing that. Shreevatsa, will you go next with a bit of a reading?
So, guys, from How to Travel Light, and because we're going live on Twitter and other social media later, I thought this would be a relevant passage maybe to read. So, yes, here goes. Both in my depression and my madness, I had found it hard to answer the question, how to be alone. I thought it essential to remind myself that my desire for communication and connectedness was in fact a manic predilection. It seemed odd that by 2016, all my friends, colleagues, and relatives also felt that their whimsy and vanity needed an audience. They'd all signed up on Facebook and Twitter. Like me, they were all desperate for that sometimes elusive Facebook like, and like me, they all wondered why their Twitter followers were ever so reluctant to retweet their stray thoughts on their writing. The world has gone bipolar, I once told my analyst. But Not everyone obsesses about their every online interaction, she laughed. My deductions, I had to confess, were simplistic. Unlike Facebook, where affinity and affection ensured token engagement, Twitter provided a more Twitter proved a more unfriendly beast. Followers weren't as kind as friends. Its frenzied chaos served well the popular, the dramatic, and the abrasive. I, however, found the invented familiarity of strangers clumsy, and I found impossible the brevity of the 140 characters Twitter stipulated. Twitter moved too quickly, and despite my few earnest efforts, I couldn't keep up. I only ever used the platform to advertise my journalism and that of my colleagues. On the 23rd of January, though, I sat in my Bombay flat reading 7 books all at the same time, seeing language become porous and my mind grow nimble. Even my Twitter feed had suddenly transformed into a source of felicity. My manic self refuses to believe in coincidence, so when I saw a tweet by Margaret Atwood that night, my faith in Providence was affirmed. Thrilled to be at the Jaipur Lit Fest, India. Tweet questions, tweet questions now. Hash Margaret Atwood. Will answer tomorrow, 24th, 5 p.m. She had written. One of the books that lay open on my bed was a review copy of Atwood's The Heart Goes Last. I remember being enchanted by Atwood when I had read The Blind Assassin in my mid-20s, and in a moment of rare lightness I found a fittingly frivolous question to put to the author. My very silly question: was the blind assassin wearing a blindfold? Hashtag Margaret Atwood. Though I was already delirious, I did not expect Atwood to answer. Twitter, I believed, had little time for my playfulness. Atwood thankfully did. She tweeted back at the promised hour. No, actually blind, in the story within the story. As justice, however, definitely. My hysteria was as inordinate as my laughter. I thanked Atwood profusely, not just for her reply, but for every word she had ever written. She went on to other questions. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. There's so much in there as well, Shrivats, and your book I highly recommend. I hope anyone watching, if you can and you can afford to, please buy the books by Shrivats and Shubhrata. And it's an easier way sometimes to enter a conversation. I think just to go through what other people have gone through, and I thank you both for sharing. It's a very brave thing to do. And as we always say, no one should feel pressurized to share if they don't want
Yeah.
to, but it's important to also have stories that people can
Yes.
relate to. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
For our musician friends, how do you want to do this? Varun and Darshan, we've been talking about Andhera, this song that you both performed very powerfully, and there's a personal side to the song which we'd like to talk to you a little bit about afterwards. But do you want to share a few lyrics? You can. Varun, do you want to go first, and then Darshan, do you want to join in?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So when I mean, share the lyrics of my part. So we decided on writing a song about mental health, and after what Darshan wrote, this is after hearing what Darshan had written, this is what came to my head, and this is what I wrote and sang. It goes like कभी था मैं ठीक ना दिया रहने I needed peace felt the need for no parents हरकतें अजीब सब है कहते made my mama weep till she screamed and got messy रातें गईं बीत बदनामी सह के छोड़ी उम्मीद चुराता रहा पैसे अव्वल नंबर ढीठ ना मानी मैंने बाप देता पीठ धरी खींच के चपेड़े घर पे जिनके सीन ना सोबर देखे मैंने नशेड़ी सारे भाई और शराबी उनकी बहनें निकालो नई स्कीम ना रहना सहमे दबाए जाते लोग बनते दिन है महीने had been feeling kind of weak too much aggression just felt the need to speak but got booked for a session with a shrink down the street got me guessing I think I need to learn before I'm teaching others lessons and it turns into an obsession. So this is like a really personal sort of my uh, outlook towards what I was experiencing when I was going through my fair share of problems.
Thank you for that. And I know it's always hard to say perform on tap, but thank you for doing that. The lyrics are
Not at
very
all.
powerful. The music is incredible. Darshan,
Mhm.
can we bring you in there to talk about that?
Yes. So I'm just going to like kind of speak from part of my verse and going on to the main uh, chorus of the song. Um, it was something like वैसे भी अब आदत हो गई है अपने ख्यालों में रहने रहने की वैसे भी अब आदत हो गई है अपने होश खो देने की वैसे भी अब आदत हो गई है चुपचाप अंधेरा सहने की वैसे भी अब आदत हो गई है भीड़ में अकेले रहने की मेरे पास सब कुछ है आसपास सब खुश हैं देखने से पता ना चले फिर भी दर्द है मेरे दिल में so that's yeah the main hook of the song.
That is so beautiful. It's poetry, isn't it? Shreevatsa and Shub, what do you think?
Yeah, of course. Like it's really, something that touches the heart. It was just something that I could feel for having, been in that position sometimes. So yes, it really touched me.
Yeah, no,
And then
I think it's sorry. But
no, go ahead. I
but
was
I
just
just
going to
think
ask you.
it's yeah, no, I just think it's incredible that I mean the song speaks. When I heard it for the first time, what really struck me was that it really describes individual experience and I think it's the music and
Yeah.
just everything put together that kind of universalizes that emotion also so well, that you hear it and you think that you felt this way, and that you can
Absolutely.
immediately put your finger on it. It's an incredible song, and I just want to sit here and listen to it even more and for
That's right.
longer.
I
But
know. I was wondering. Let me put the link actually on the screen for people. It's phenomenal. I think what you both have done. Thank you again. It's really going to resonate with a lot of people, and I think that's sometimes half the battle. As you both said, actually in your interview, the interview we did, the battle sometimes is talking about things, right? Just having a conversation. So let me
Yeah.
start with both of you, Varun and Darshan. Maybe Varun, you go first on what are some of the reactions you've had since you've shared this song with it's obviously your fans, but also your friends and family have heard it now.
They have. I mean, especially my. I mean, I didn't share it with my mother or my father yet, but my brothers, my cousins, and they really got teary eyed and thinking, and they were just really happy about the fact that I was courageous enough to just share something so personal to me, and that's what they told me. I never did I imagine that you would really sing about something like this, rap about something like this. So it really made me feel empowered and happy and light, because this is exactly what I am in for, uh, overcoming my fears. And even so many other people who heard these kind of songs, and maybe it's I just like Darshan and me, we want to normalize it. If us artists can make a song about it and make it be heard to thousands of or hundreds of people even, so even probably like someone who is experiencing such problems is having thoughts like, should I really open up about my problem to someone? So that should kind of break the barrier for them. Even if there is one or two people who they think they are close to, can confide in, tell them about their problem, and it can help them come out of it or even feel a little bit lighter. That's all we wanted. And it was really, we were really thrilled to get so much love, so much appreciation. And for obviously, I mean, it's a song, and everyone didn't like the song as much as we expected it to. But yes, there were a lot of people, emotional people, or probably people going through the same things as us. They loved the song, and they showered it like with a lot of appreciation, and like we're really thankful for that.
And Darshan, how about you? What have some of the reactions been? You've also shared that you talk about in an interview that that both of you have gone through your own share of ups and downs. That you do have bipolar disorder. There are good days and bad days. Um, did you have any concerns before opening up that you'd want to bring up? Because, we do want to also address the fact that it is still, it's easy
Yeah.
for us to talk to each other, but it's still a stigma, isn't there, in India?
Yeah, absolutely.
So most definitely, I have spent um, the best part of like the last 15 years or so, since 2004, I think, when I first started experiencing like major symptoms. Um, I really hate this whole thing. There was a lot of so I was working in corporate life at that time, and there was no way that I would admit that there was anything happening inside at that point. For many reasons, I never thought that I'd be accepted if I even brought this up. How things have changed now, like a few years later, and so after a long kind of period of um kind of like dealing with it myself, in the sense, and close family knowing about it, but it was very difficult to come out in the open and speak about it freely without the guilt and shame and the stigma and all of those associated things which are there. So I think finally when we did this song, I kind of felt a little bit relieved that one, I can share this story with people, and most people were just really supportive, and I think they felt a connection, and of course we made ourselves vulnerable, as have all of us, by sharing our personal stories, but I think that's what also creates deep connections between people, and um, I think it'll if it can help some people come out and seek help or treatment, or know that it's all right to feel this way. I think we would have succeeded in the reason like behind this song.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Srivats, you've written about your diagnosis in How to Travel Light. You've also said in an interview that you think one of the most important things to defeat stigma is to talk about it. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts here in terms of some of the reactions you've also had to sharing? It's a very personal, it's a very brave thing to do because, as Darshan said, you are being vulnerable to a public that doesn't know you, right? Necessarily.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when I was writing the book, I honestly did not think of it as that I was doing anything brave. I thought I was just following in the footsteps of a number of people who've written about their experiences, whether through fiction or whether through non-fiction. And I'd chosen a kind of memoir kind of route to talk about what I had been through, and it was really interesting because after, of course, the book came out, the kind of responses that I got to the book. I mean, there were a few, but the ones that stand out to me are, of course, people who were perhaps either bipolar or mentally ill, and had found their experiences of breakdowns or suffering or pain or any of that mirrored in what they read. When they read How to Travel Light, and a lot of those people just through conversation grew to become really good friends because there was so much affinity that it's like I see what you do kind of thing. But more than that, also I think there were some people who wrote to me actually to tell me that they tried to read the book, and by about page 10 or 15 they thought it was too much for them, and that it was a trigger in a way, and that they didn't want to kind of almost subject themselves to that kind of emotion, and that really kind of worried me because that's not the kind of writer I wanted to be. I did not want somebody to feel uncomfortable or to feel pain while reading it, but then I just realized that that's probably the kind of book that was written that might make some people feel emotionally and feel deeply, and things like that. There was, however, a third group of people who kind of who read the book purely out of curiosity. You know, just to see whether they enjoy it just as a book, and the fact that they came away thinking that they had thought about mental health perhaps in a manner that didn't help their empathy when it came to people who were diagnosed or who had an illness or an ailment. The idea that that there is actually no difference between somebody who's mentally ill and someone who's not. We're human beings. We are going through this crazy thing called life, trying to interpret it in our own which way. Um, so I don't know if the book or I have ever been able to even like scratch the surface of all that stigma, but it certainly felt cathartic in the end to put one story out there. And like Darshan and Varun were kind of saying and hinting at, that to allow your vulnerability to be accessed by people and for people to see it. That was certainly something that was even strangely redemptive in the end. So, yes.
We can't
We
hear
can't
you.
hear you.
And Terry.
We can't hear you.
Unmuting myself. As long as none of you mute yourself, I think we're fine. I was saying, I think it's really moving also about Shreevatsa and Shubh, coming to you on this. You've both also been
Yeah,
very honest about the fact that it's not like a quick fix, that sharing your story, or that you wake up one day and everything is fine. Like, you've been very honest about the fact that it's a journey. There are ups and downs, and in the D word as well, Shubhrata, you do talk about some of those ups and downs, and how you wish that earlier you would have known about things like depression or postpartum depression. What have some of the reactions
absolutely.
been to your sharing this journey?
Amrita, my sharing of my story in the D word has been liberating for me as well. That's something that I've said, that it's not a guilty secret that I need to hide anywhere, and being open about my illness or my struggles is a step in that direction. And the reactions that I've seen so far, they kind of mirror what Shrivatsa said. Absolutely. Like, some people came back to me. Keep getting these messages that the book helps them, or understand their own illness, or somebody else in their family, a loved one, what they are going through. So that's been one kind of reaction. Another set has been of people saying that they could not read because they felt triggered at places. And again, I also had tried to make it as readable as possible, and I didn't want anyone to feel sad for me or sorry for me. It was just meant to be something that people can read to understand. Reading was the main thing. But there it is. And the thing is that it is a sordid story. Mental illness is not easy, and there's no way to make it a nice romantic movie kind of thing where people are dancing around bushes and singing. No, it's not. It's as dark and grim as it reads. So I have also tried to tell it like it is. I've tried to be true to the narrative, and this is how it has been. And of course, there are people who've taken it smile, not read, but then that's all right. That's not in my hands. I've just tried to put out the story. And one of the reasons for writing the book and talking about my own journey was exactly this kind of thing, that it should open up these conversations. One shouldn't have to be brave or bold, or it doesn't have to be something like, okay, I've reached Mount Everest and I'm putting a flag there. It just should be a normal part of our conversation. And therefore, that is one of the things that I've tried to do through the D word.
um,
Yeah,
I can't tell if I'm on mute or not mute. Can you guys hear me?
yeah,
You
yeah,
Yeah.
we
are
can hear
muted.
you.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
sorry. It's a super tech challenge, really. I do want to ask all of you, and maybe I'll start with you, Shubhrata, because when we talk about mental health, and we talk about advocating for change, and we talk about mental illness in India, I think a lot of people don't realize that the numbers are quite high. So, the government's national mental health survey from a few years ago said 1 in 10 adults in India would have a mental disorder, mental illness at any given time. 1 in 10 is a big number. We can,
It is.
we can speculate, is it more, is it less? And I done an interview with Dr. Vikram Patel a few years ago where he was, really brought home to me that 1 in 10 number doesn't mean that the other 9
Don't
are
have.
doing fantastically. You know what I mean? So when we talk about mental health and mental illness from an India point of view, what are one or two myths you wish, misconceptions that would just go away? That by this time next year, when we're all celebrating World Mental Health Day, that these are just gone. One or two. And I'm going to come to all of you. So we'll start with Shubhrata.
Yeah, in fact, I was just trying to look at something for, as you said, for reading, from the book as well. So, one of the things that I would like to say is that we need to get over this choice theory. There's one of the biggest misconceptions is that mental illness or mental disorders are a choice. You're not brave enough, you're not bold enough to handle your life, and therefore it's an easy way out. That okay, you say you have depression and you don't want to deal with life. So it's that is one of the biggest misconceptions. It's an illness. It can happen to anyone. It can happen to strong, weak, rich, poor, man, woman, child, anyone. So that's something that one really needs to keep in mind. And although from a neurological point of view, there's research which is still going on trying to figure out why certain people get it, how it actually happens. We may have results in a couple of decades, maybe half a century, I don't know. But it's definitely not a choice, and I have been trying to talk about a lot about that as well. And it is just that I'm just if Amrita, is there time to just read a page? If there is,
Yeah.
I'll just go ahead with that. Yeah. So this is from the book, and this is about the time in 2015 when we were going to move from Ahmedabad to Bangkok. And then, I have said that I was too tired of explaining my illness to people I met all the time. Depression? But why are you depressed? You have everything one could want in life. Yes, I know, but what to do? Being depressed is my hobby. That's what, I would feel like screaming. Be strong? Yes, I'm so weak that I walked into my UPSC interview 2 weeks after my heart surgery and still scored a high rank. I am so weak that during my student days, I used to stay in Delhi on my own with my friends and would do the Delhi Patna commute alone while in my teens. I am so weak that I gave up a high paying job at Leo Burnett for the uncertainty that the UPSC civil services exams are. And I am so weak that when my husband was hospitalized with a platelet count of 3,000, I single handedly managed that first and critical day alone before the cavalry came in the next day. Depression? You look pretty normal. Oh, sorry, I forgot to wear my tattered rags today. And sorry, my hair is not matted today. Look at so and so. Look at what a mess their life is. Still, they are not depressed. You should learn from them. Or, oh, I went through such and such thing in my life, but I found a way out and didn't go into depression. Well, good for them or good for you. I got depression only delivering a baby. Of course, all the difficult times in my life that I fought through without developing major depression don't count, do they? You should pull yourself up and say, get out to depression. Oh, how could I? I love depression and all its friends: anxiety, irritability, depersonalization, derealization, so much that I can't live without them. I have to see them once daily at least. Your poor husband. He has to put up with so much. Oh, he's not really my husband. We are living in sin. He did not legally marry me and take responsibility for me. He did not take marital vows around the holy fire, promising to protect me. And if it was the other way round, I would have left him and run away. Would I have not? So this is the kind of thing, that whole weakness, choice, etc., which I'm always trying to. That's what the stigma is about, and fighting stigma is also fighting all these myths about weakness and choice.
Yeah, I mean that you couldn't have put it better than you just did. I think I know for me that I find people, still will say that it's not an Indian issue, which is why even doing a
First of
panel
all,
like this, yeah, it's like it's not a problem that is in India. These are all newfangled, concepts.
Absolutely.
It's and I
It's
just hope
trendy to be mentally ill.
there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
It is.
yeah.
And the saddest thing is that if you go to any government hospital, the psych ward of a government hospital, you will see people who are literally in rags because they cannot afford anything, but they are still there because they also have depression.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest myth.
Definitely. Darshan, Varun, and then Shreevatsa, maybe one myth or misconception you hope uh, could go away.
So I would say, please don't refuse treatment. Um, this is not something that can be wished away, or you can't escape from this. Like, treatment is available and you can feel better. So why shouldn't you? There is help available. Yeah.
Yeah, there is help available. Varun?
According to me, I mean, this is really true. There are a lot of people who believe, who I know downright like dismiss it. Like they're like, ऐसा कुछ होता ही नहीं है, and like they believe in it that नहीं नहीं नहीं, this is nothing, and it can be overcome with deep breathing and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just basic education. Some some like a doctor, or just people need to be educated that it exists. People are dealing with it. It could happen to you. It could happen to anyone. I mean, just be open to the fact that it's around us and it could happen to anyone. And let's just deal with it in the whatever required way that's possible.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
works. Shreevatsa?
Sure. I have lots of thoughts about this. I'm going to try and be really quick and keep it very short. But the one thing that I do kind of want to say is that I think in India we've of course come a long way, like Darshan was mentioning earlier, than say way back in 2007 when I was diagnosed to now in 2020, where there definitely does seem to be a greater awareness about things. But at the same given point in time, I think there's a danger. I think what has also happened is that that at some level we're also reducing mental health to hashtags. We're also kind of sanitizing the narrative quite plainly and quite consistently. For instance, if somebody is going through psychosis, or if somebody is depressed, or if somebody is anxious, and is thinking perhaps horrid kind of dark or unpleasant thoughts even. These things, there should be a space for people to be able to talk about that without wondering that oh my god, I might be vitiating the atmosphere or saying something that will trigger somebody else perhaps. It's high time that we look at mental health as a health issue. I'm so glad that this
Absolutely.
platform is called the Health Collective and not the Mental Health Collective, because these are problems that it's not the same as having diabetes, as many psychiatrists like to tell you. But at the same given point in time, if people do not come to people who have mental health with the kind of empathy that says that what you are going through, we could go through as well. That we don't have to necessarily be diagnosed, or we don't necessarily need to be having an episode in order to feel feelings of despair or elation or or anything that is branded inconvenient by people. I think that would be a major step in the right direction. So just so that we try our level best to consider that everything that uh, to consider the individual's experience, and to find a way in that experience to see some form of empathy, like I said, but also correlation, and that there are coordinates that can align, rather than just say that this person has an issue that I will never have.
And I wonder if it's your experience. Definitely, we started talking about having a safe space. What that actually means. It means different things to different people, but it ultimately means having a place where people can share. Even Shreevatsa, like you said, when it can be a difficult conversation, right? It's not that you have to feel the pressure that you shouldn't bring the rest of us down because you're being honest about what you're going through. I wonder if all of you, and we'll come to the call to action after that, if all of you feel that once you've started having these conversations, do you find that they unlock spaces for other people? Because I've seen that with the site. Once people know that we're interested in talking about mental health in a fairly safe space, I hope, at least that's our aim, more and more and more people come and talk to you because they find that at least I have an empathetic ear. Do you find that's the case, Shreevatsa? And then I want to ask all of you this.
Sure, I'll just talk about it from my own perspective. I think talking about it, you're able to find a tone, right? I mean, when you're telling your own story, if your objective is to not bring the other person down, you find a tone in which you're able to convey your experience in a manner that the other person would be able to listen without dismissing it as perhaps a sob story or something of the sort. And I think that there's this negotiation of terminology, and there's this negotiation of tones, tonality, etc., that keeps happening when you start these conversations with other people. And I think that. That these are good things, because if nothing else, even if somebody else doesn't benefit from the conversation, you always do. You always do, because you are able to make sense of your narrative better, and put commas and full stops where there should be commas and full stops. So it helps with punctuation, is what I'm saying.
Which is not my strong suit, but we won't get into that. Darshan, Varun, and Shubhrata, do you find that more people, that you're helping to open up these conversations in a way?
Yes, yes, I do feel that, because I've had a lot of people opening up to me in my friends and extended family circles, sometimes even strangers on Twitter or Facebook, and people in my workplace. Like, I do give mental health first aid, I would say, little bit of chatting to a lot of people in the office, because our office has a lot of young people who are working, and they often do come up to me and they do talk about it. So in a way, yes, I think a little dent, a little headway, but we've made that.
I think for us, the like Darshan and me had planned with the help of this song, we're going to tell everyone it's okay to experience such a thing, and please go ahead. And in fact, we partnered up with you know just freelancing counseling psychologists, and it happened. It so happened that one person even kind of accepted, yeah, that she was having problem, and she even went in for therapy after we released that song. And she said she loved it, and it really helped her just come out with her problems. So it was great, and I think like we pretty much were successful at doing so. What do you feel, Darshan?
So yes, like I think we are doing what, um perhaps I can speak for myself, that perhaps other people had done 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and like open a kind of place where it's all right, to feel the way that you do. um it's a very tough place to be in, and I definitely think, like Shubh said, just we've taken at least a step forward in the right direction, in creating an environment where we say that's, it's all right to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, and in no way am I saying, take the burden of all of this on your own shoulders. I think that each one of us has a role to play. So, I want to thank you all for what you're doing. It's also about, making wonderful art, right? I mean, you're all creative. You're translating your experiences into something other people can pick up on. Um, I want to, we're going to end with a call to action if we can, and then, hand over to our musician friends to close this out. But if there was a call to action, and maybe Shrivat, starting with you, and then we can go to Shubh, Varun, and Darshan. Um, we want to, I mean, I suppose the idea is that if each one of us, anyone listening, anyone watching, anyone reading your book, if each one of us was able to create a sort of safe space, what would your advice be? And I'm talking about, what we would tell our friends, families, not just people who are going through lived experience, right? But how do we make this conversation easier or extend that safe space?
Sure. I think the idea of a safe space would have to factor in this idea of imagination. That if one wants to create a safe space and one wants other people to enter that space and be able to be vulnerable or to be able to be honest about how they're feeling, they need to be imaginative. They need to be able to say that, that what you're saying is necessarily not something that you are feeling because there's a chemical imbalance in your brain or you don't have enough serotonin flowing through you. But I too, in similar circumstances, could perhaps feel a certain way or have felt a certain way, and I can relate. And I think that what we need to perhaps do a little more is figure out as to how we can relate better to people, not just people who are ill, but also to one another and to each other. And the more we do that, the more I think will we see compassion, and just the more will we see understanding. And I think what what anybody does, like, with songs or with books or with art, is just to try and say that, maybe I feel this way right now. Do you understand that? Or, hopefully you might. So while the burden is not on our shoulders, I think it's important for people to talk about their experiences, and when people are listening to it, to try and understand it better. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Anyone else? Amrita?
Just that safe space starts with the belief that it's okay not to be okay. That's the biggest mantra. That is what helps people in opening up. That is what is gives out the signal that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay. It's all right, even if you're not well. And that is where I think we should start at any point of time, because unless that acceptance comes that okay, it's all right, people can fall ill, brains can get disordered and get a little dysfunctional. So that would first of all take out the sting from the stigma, and it'll help people open up. And we just need to kind of send out this message always that it's all right, even if you're not well, it's okay. It's okay not to be okay.
That's beautiful. Okay, I think we did I lose a little track of time because you're all really fascinating, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I didn't want to put the musicians on the spot, but do you want to close out our chat, Darshan and Varun, if you can?
Darshan, should I just
Um,
go for it?
do you want me to talk about the call to action, or
First
anything
call to
about the
action.
song? I'm sorry. Uh,
Both.
okay,
We don't ask for
so
too much here, Darshan. Everything.
okay, so I really feel that it'll be very like two things would be really good to teach children. Um, One would be like empathy, kind of knowing what someone else is feeling and understanding. And I think if we can kind of teach children, like, as part of education, um, just simple stuff like this, caring, kindness, and empathy, I think it can go a long way to start creating a space where people can confide in each other and understand what everyone is going through. Um, Easier said than done, of course, but that's something I would think would be very nice. And one more thing would be perhaps a support group, right? I think what's even lacking today in India is like formal or informal support groups of any kind. And I think that would also be really helpful for people um, to kind of not feel alone in their suffering.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope we can have more support groups.
Varun?
Shubhrata, this is reminding me of a conversation we had a few years ago.
Yeah,
There's a lot of work to be done.
there's a lot to be done. Absolutely. But
Um,
one day at a time.
yes, one day at a time. Okay, Varun and Darshan, do you want to close us out with a song? And we're going to tell everyone to share their comments, share their feedback. Please listen to the song as well, and buy the books that we've discussed today. That would also be very kind.
So Darshan, should I go for it?
Yeah, please do the verse.
I'll do my verse. Okay, and I'll just kind of sing out the last chorus also on your
Yeah,
behalf.
please do
Or
that.
would you want to
Yeah,
would you want
please
to
do
do
that.
that?
No, no, please go ahead. I don't think we can do it with this lag,
Hmm.
wala. Huh.
Cool, cool, great. So I'm just going to do my verse from the song Andhera. It's available on YouTube and any other music consuming platform that you all use like to stream. So here it goes. कभी था मैं ठीक ना दिया रहने I needed peace, felt the need for no parents. हरकतें अजीब सब है कहते made my mama weak till she screamed and got messy. रातें गई बीत बदनामी सह के छोड़ी उम्मीद चुराता रहा पैसे अव्वल नंबर ढीठ ना मानी मैंने बाप देता पीट धरी खींच के चपेड़े घर पे जिनके सीन ना सोबर देखे मैंने ना शीरी सारे भाई और शराबी उनकी बहनें निकालो नई स्कीम ना रहना सहमे दबाए जाते लोग बनते दिन हैं महीने have been feeling kinda weak. Too much aggression, just felt the need to speak, but got booked first session with the shrink down the street. Got me guessing, think I need to learn, for I'm teaching others lessons and it turns into an obsession. मेरे पास सब कुछ है, आस पास सब खुश हैं, देखने से पता ना चले, फिर भी दर्द है मेरे दिल में, फिर भी दर्द है मेरे दिल में. मेरे पास सब कुछ है, आस पास सब खुश हैं, देखने से पता ना चले, फिर भी दर्द है मेरे दिल में. Yeah, that's it.
I wish we could give you a standing ovation. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to thank each of you for your time. Thank you for speaking to us and being, again, so brave about your journeys. Thanks for the chat today. And for our viewers, thank you for watching.
Thank you, Amrita,
Thank you for having
having
us,
us over.
Thank
and
you.
happy World Mental Health Day.
Yes, that's right.